Room 209, there's a reason I don't work night shifts anymore. Not after what happened at the Hollow Pines Motel. Not after room 209. It was a roadside dump off Highway 47. One of those places with flickering neon signs and carpet that smells like mold no matter how often you clean it. I was 22, new in town, desperate for money. The job was easy. Night clerk, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Just sit at the front desk, check in the occasional trucker or lost traveler, and keep the coffee warm. Seems simple. Seems safe. The first week was uneventful. Boring even. But then came the night of the storm. Wind howled through the eaves. Rain came down in sheets. Power flickered. And then, just past 2 a.m., the front bell rang. I hadn't heard anyone pull in. No headlights. No engine. Just the bell. I looked up, and there she was, a woman in her late 60s, drenched from the rain, gray hair hanging in soaked strings around her face. She didn't say a word, just slid a $100 bill across the counter and pointed at the key rack. Her eyes never blinked. I gave her the key to room 209. As she turned to leave, I noticed something strange. Her bare feet left no prints on the wet floor. She hadn't dripped a single drop of water. I should have called someone. I should have said something. But I just sat there, frozen. Around 3 a.m., the screaming started. It wasn't a scream like pain. It was rage, guttural, inhuman. I grabbed the master key and ran up the stairs. The hallway to room 209 was colder than the rest of the building. I could see my breath, even though it was June. When I reached the door, the screaming stopped. I knocked. No answer. I unlocked it, pushed the door open, and found the room completely empty. Bed untouched, curtains drawn, no sign of the woman. Except, on the far wall, scrawled in what looked like dried blood, were the words, "She never left." I stepped inside. The air was thick, heavy, the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. Then, the bathroom door creaked open. I didn't want to look. I knew I shouldn't, but I did. And inside, hanging from the shower rod by a rotted bedsheet, was the woman. Her eyes were open, her mouth stretched in a silent scream, and her skin. It looked like paper, pale, translucent, as if she'd been there for decades. I ran, stumbled out of the room, nearly fell down the stairs. I called the police. They searched the room. Nothing. No body. No writing on the wall. Just a clean, untouched hotel suite. They didn't believe me. Said I imagined it. I quit the next day. But the story doesn't end there. Weeks later, I got a call from Darren, the new guy who took my place. He asked if I'd ever had trouble with room 209. I told him everything. He went silent. Then he whispered, "She came back last night." He said she stood outside the front window for an hour. Just watching. Didn't move. Didn't blink. Then she vanished. They stopped renting out room 209 after that. But sometimes passing by on the freeway, I still see the light on. Sometimes I swear. There's a shadow standing in the window, waiting. The man in the vents. I used to work night maintenance at a children's hospital. Not a big one, just an aging 3-story building in a forgotten corner of the city. Most of the rooms had been converted into offices. Only the first floor was still used for patients. But the third floor? It had been shut down for years. No lights, no staff, just dust and silence. That's where it started. One night around 3 a.m., I got a call from security. They said someone had triggered the motion sensor in one of the old third-floor rooms. Room 323, a pediatric ward, supposedly locked, supposedly empty. I went up with my flashlight. The elevator groaned the whole way up, like it hated being there. When the doors opened, I stepped out into silence. You ever walk into a place that just feels wrong? The air was thick, still, like the floor was holding its breath. I walked down the hallway, old children's murals peeling off the walls. My light flicked across empty doorways and broken toys. Then I reached room 323. The door was open. Inside, nothing. Just the frame of a child's bed, a collapsed curtain, and above it, a metal ceiling vent hanging loose. I stepped closer and saw deep scratches around the vent's edge, like something had pulled itself inside. I climbed up and shined my light into the vent. Empty, until I heard it. Breathing. Deep, slow breathing. From inside the duct. I backed away, but before I could move, I heard something scraping in the vent. Moving. Fast. Then silence. I told myself it was a raccoon. A rat. Anything but what it felt like. But the next night, it happened again. Different room, different motion sensor. Always near a vent. I started hearing things. Tiny scratching noises above me. Faint whispering. Laughter sometimes. Children's laughter. But warped. One night, I passed by an empty office and saw something inside. Just for a second. A tall, thin silhouette pressed up against the ceiling vent. Limbs too long. Neck bent at a sickening angle. It stared down through the grate, unmoving. I blinked, and it was gone. I checked the security footage. Nothing. Just static every time motion was triggered. But I kept seeing it. Then came the night it spoke. I was on the second floor checking fuses. The lights flickered, and a voice echoed from the vent overhead. A dry, croaking voice that whispered, "Come back to 323. I froze. That floor had no power, no speakers, no access. And yet I heard it again. "Come see what you left behind." I should have quit. I should have run. But I went back. I don't know why. Room 323 was darker than before. The air reeked of rust and something else. Something sweet and rotten. The vent was wide open now. Dark inside. Too dark. I stepped beneath it, and something dropped. A finger. Small. Child-sized. Pale and dry like porcelain. More fell. A hand. An arm. Then a head. Not a real one. A doll's head. Cracked. Eyes wide. Smile painted too wide. Too red. I heard scuttling above. Then silence. I backed out of the room and slammed the door. As I turned to leave, I saw writing on the hallway wall. It hadn't been there before. Carved into the paint, over and over. He watches from the vents. I left that night. Never went back. 2 weeks later, the hospital shut down completely. Rumors said it was asbestos, Moldavian budget cuts, but I know the truth. Sometimes when I lie awake at night, I hear it again. Soft scratching. Above me. In the walls. And sometimes, when I turn out the lights, I see a vent in the corner of the ceiling that wasn't there before. And something inside it. Watching. Waiting. We moved into the house in late November. It was cheap. Too cheap. My wife Rachel said we should question why a 5-bedroom colonial sat untouched on the market for over a year. I laughed it off. Thought we got lucky. I was wrong. The first night I noticed something odd. You ever get that feeling you're being watched? I was brushing my teeth when I saw it. Not directly, just in the mirror. A long hallway outside the bathroom, leading to the guest rooms. And there, standing motionless in the shadows, was a figure. Pale, tall, no face, just standing there.
I turned around instantly, heart thudding.
Nothing. Empty hallway, silent house. I convinced myself it was a trick of the light, or toothpaste foam in my eye. But then it kept happening. Every night around 2 a.m., the air would change. Thicker, heavy like damp cotton, and always I'd feel it, eyes on me, waiting just past the door frame. The third night, I didn't go to bed. Sat in the hallway, lights off, no movement. Then, floorboards creaked behind me. I whipped around. Nothing, except the hallway felt longer, deeper, like the walls stretched into blackness that hadn't been there before. Rachel said I was working too much. Stress, sleep deprivation. but she hadn't seen it. Not yet. One night she screamed, a high, panicked sound I'd never heard from her before. I ran to our room, heart pounding, and she was sitting up in bed, crying, pointing at the door. She said it had touched her. Long fingers, cold. It brushed her cheek and whispered something she couldn't understand. She thought she was dreaming until she saw the scratch, 3 thin red lines down her jaw. After that, we tried sleeping with the lights on. Didn't help. Whatever it was, it didn't care. Some nights, it would pace the hallway. Heavy, slow steps, not like footsteps on wood, more like nails dragging across bone. One night, I left my phone recording overnight. I didn't tell Rachel. In the morning, I listened to the audio. At exactly 2:03 a.m., the hallway floor creaked. Then a soft, breathy sound, like someone whispering directly into the mic. It said my name. I didn't sleep after that. We tried to leave, packed bags, tried to drive away, but something always stopped us. The car wouldn't start. Rachel got violently ill. One night I stood in the driveway, keys in hand, and the house. It felt like it was watching me. Not just a presence, a will, like the house wanted us to stay. A week later, I woke to Rachel gone. Her side of the bed cold. I called for her, searched every room. Then I heard the humming. A childlike voice, distant, echoing from the hallway. I followed it. Slow steps. Each light I passed flickered out. The hallway stretched again. Longer, darker. At the end of it, I saw her. Rachel, standing completely still, her head cocked at an impossible angle, her eyes rolled back, mouth slightly open. She was humming, but her lips weren't moving. Behind her, a shape unfolded from the ceiling, pale, boneless limbs lowering like strands of silk. It pulled itself down, inch by inch. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. I stepped forward, and Rachel's head snapped toward me, neck cracking. She whispered, "Don't turn around." But I hadn't, until she said it. And of course I did. Right behind me, inches from my face. A pale, eyeless thing with no mouth, just stretched skin and tiny holes where a nose should have been. Its body was crooked like it had been folded the wrong way. It breathed in and whispered my name. I passed out, woke up on the floor hours later. Rachel was gone. No note, no sound. Just gone. I reported her missing. Police searched. Nothing. I check the hallway every night now. It's always longer than I remember. Sometimes, when I listen closely, I still hear her humming. But it's not her voice anymore. It's distorted, like something trying to remember how a human sounds. And every night at 2:03 a.m., I feel it again, standing just outside the door, waiting. Sometimes I wonder, did I ever leave the hallway? Or did it take me too?